Good evening, everyone. My name is Shobana Rana. I'm the president of the Harvard Club of India. And on behalf of my team and myself, I welcome you all today. Apologies for a slight delay in starting. We have two very special guests who we are going to welcome today on this webinar on Kerala. And I'm sure you're all looking forward to the discussion. I pass you now on to Shadan Farasat, who is the vice president of our club, and he will take it further from here. On to you, Shadan.
Thank you, Shobna. A very warm welcome to everybody. A very warm welcome to Dr. Thomas and to Mitali, to the Harvard Club of India. We are really happy to have you here today and to have agreed to do this webinar with us. Dr. Thomas needs really no introduction. He has been really the COVID fighter for Kerala. So we have all seen him in the last 4 months in so many different media platforms. But just in brief, he has a degree in social development, which he took from JNU in the 1980s. He has done a PhD from JNU, and then he has been socially and politically active in different fronts. He's presently a member of the Assembly from Alappuzha, and he's also Kerala's finance minister, which in these COVID times, the finance minister of a state is extremely difficult task. So we really look up to the way he's been handling that. Mitali, of course, has been a veteran business journalist, and she was with CNBC TV 18. She's a very well-known face. She's worked with TV Today and other groups, and presently she works with The Wire. And she's known for a very incisive and in-detail questioning. So thank you, Mitali, for agreeing with us to be here today, and over to you now.
Thank you so much for that, Shadan. I was just going to say that that's a good description for Dr. Issac. I think he has two guns, in fact, one to handle the health crisis and one to handle the finances. Dr. Issac, welcome to this gathering. It's going to be a largish community. I understand that the alumni for Harvard is over 1,900. They've been around since the 1960s, perhaps a time when you yourself were a young and rebellious student. So that's when this entire club was taking place. And as life has its unforeseen twists and turns, I don't know if the club saw a gathering happening in this virtual way, but here we are in 2020 doing so many of these virtual gatherings. Thank you, sir, first of all, for taking time out. The way we are speaking is very different from how we spoke a couple of months back when you were in Delhi and you told me you were less concerned about Kerala and more concerned about cities like Delhi. I think your words have been prescient, and it has been an intense phase, particularly for the urban pockets. We want to talk about the Kerala model, of course, Dr. Issac, but I want to start with some sobering news, which Kerala has been dealing with as well. On the 8th of July, you reported 300 new cases. The day after that, it was 340. My understanding is that data shows the recovery rate has slid from 96% all the way down to about 58, 59%. As a government, sir, how are you feeling about what looks like a wave two? And are you feeling prepared to take it on again?
Yeah, we are confident we can tackle it. The confidence springs from our experience, okay. Our strength are one, we have good public health system, okay. Therefore, even if things go the worst scenario, still we will be able to take care of the sick people and so on. Mm. Second, we have fantastic local governments. You can rely on them. Every crisis, the flood, and now the COVID, they are the local organizers. The state government doesn't have to look to what is happening, that ward or village. No, they are fairly autonomous and they can function independently. I think these are our two great strengths. And now the present spike is expected. We had brought the curve down. In fact, I was predicting we will eliminate it, but then started trickling down of all Malayalis from all over the globe to Kerala. Now Kerala, to anybody outside, is a very safe place. Total number of deaths in Kerala is 27, while I think around 250 or 300 Keralites have died abroad. So everybody wants to come back. It's their land. So come back they will. They'll be welcomed. but they come from hotspots, and therefore we find a spike. At least 2-3% of people are coming back or get ill. But we are hoping we will be able to contain the spread. Okay, and that has been a great credit so far. More than 80% of the cases since the outbreak began are from outside. So we want to keep it that way. Does not cost much money. It's kind of the social capital. Everybody joining together to break the chain, the self-restraint and so on, keep the distancing and so on. But then now our medical facilities will have to be expanded because we are expecting for the rest of the month, every day, the number of cases to go up. We want to keep the death rate, fatality rate, the lowest. That's the great challenge. That's the great challenge. We have no choice that people getting sick. We can't control that. But we want to show that we will keep our fatality rate below 1%, whatever happens. That's the thing. That's the challenge.
There is a sense, though, sir, that at this point there is fairly high community transmission, even for a state like Kerala. And the Chief Minister has indicated that perhaps there could be stricter regulations and restrictions coming. Is that something that people should be primed for in the next few weeks?
Yes. See, you have to play hide and seek with the coronavirus for the rest of the year. You see, the guy is not going to go off. He's going to be there with us till either vaccine is found or herd immunity develops. So it's out there. So, one, life cannot be shut down. Healthy people will have to go out and work. Two, I said we want, and they may get sick, but we want to avoid the spread by regulating. Suppose somewhere an outbreak is the stricter regulation. After it's contained, okay, you relax. That's why I said hide and seek. But one thing that we are meticulously doing now, we are enforcing reverse quarantine. Kerala has a very large proportion of vulnerable population. The percentage of people above the age of 60 would be nearly 10%. And then with comorbidities, diabetes, high pressure, and so on, lifestyle disease is very high. So now what we are doing is we are trying to send a message. You guys have to stay home. Stay home. Only able-bodied, they would go out. For them, it doesn't matter. You get sick, we'll give you treatment. But you guys who get sick, it will be difficult. So this is what we are doing. In my constituency, I do a lot of experiments at the local level. We have enforced reverse quarantine. The local government gives them an order, a letter to every household. These persons are vulnerable because we have a database of all citizens, the health status, and therefore they have to stay indoors. And now, if you have sick, our volunteer will come, you give him telemedicine. They will come, because ordinary people cannot be expected to go video calls and so on. They will come, they make arrange appointment with the doctor, make the video call. If you guys don't get food enough, we'll supply you food in the house, but stay indoors. If you are unhappy, feeling down, well, there are counselors to come to you. So this is the strategy, Yeah. Those vulnerable people will stay back. Able-bodied will go out and work. And we'll keep the spread to manageable limit by strictly enforcing this physical distancing, wearing masks, and now we are launching sani mats. Okay. Suppose your elderly people are staying at home and you go and work and you come back. Okay, you wash your hands, what about your feet? The chappals, shoes, and so on. So we have tomorrow, in Monday, we are launched in the sunny belt. So that's the thing.
That's great to hear, sir. And I know that Kerala has, of course, been extremely systematic in its approach. While the restrictions might give you some relief in terms of dealing with the health crisis, I imagine it would give you more sleepless nights as a finance minister because only just was economic activity beginning to resume. What is your own experience of how much activity had resumed in Kerala, sir, and whether that pace can indeed be maintained over the next couple of weeks if this hide and seek is to continue?
Well, we have done the analysis. What would be the COVID impact on the economy and on state finances? In fact, there are 3 committees working on that. Our present expectation is that our GSDP would be minus 10 to 50. Okay, that's a big come down. National, there's a contraction, they say is 4.5. Be sure it's going to be much higher. But it won't be same throughout the country. The states which are predominantly agriculture, they would be least affected. Kerala agriculture contributes to only 12-13% of the GSDP. Therefore, we are going to be very affected. And then the migration, heavy return migration is taking place.
Yeah.
Remittances are going to go down. It will have the reverse multiplier impact on the economy. And therefore, we are thinking will be a drastic contraction of the economy. Okay, that's one. Now, just the impact on the government finances. Our assessment is our total revenue is something like in the budget 1 lakh crore rupees. There will be a shortfall of minimum 30,000 crores. That's a big hit. So, luckily, central government has allowed 2% more additional borrowing. So that comes in handy. But my response has been, I won't worry too much about what would happen a few months later. I fight my battles today. For example, lockdown came just the beginning of the financial year. See, you have facing absolutely no revenue. Lockdown period, government doesn't have revenue. What happened the rest of India is everybody stopped spending.
Yeah.
Now that is calamitous for the poor people who have been robbed of their jobs, their income. What we did in Kerala was, we just decided, okay, the government cannot independently. We just front-loaded our borrowing.
Yeah.
Say we are allowed 27,000 crores of borrowing. We say we are borrowing 10,000 crores the first one.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
So many people went to caution, what will happen after a few months? Remember, we live today, tomorrow we'll wait and see, borrowed. So we front-loaded the borrowing, and then about 10,000 crores was just income transfer. Entitlements of people, their pensions, welfare payments, and so on and so forth, all given us advance. Okay. And also used our cooperatives and so on to extend credit. So we are facing a very tough situation. State government revenues are hit, but this is a time where government has to play a very proactive role, not a conservative role.
Let me take you on the central government's role on 2 of those points that you raised, Dr. Issac. One is with regards to GST compensation, where I know that several state governments and finance ministers within those states have been pushing for an alternate mechanism. You are trying to raise that in the next GST Council meeting. So my first question is, are you hopeful of an alternate settlement? My second question is with regards to raising the borrowing limit, which seems to have come with a lot of tie-ins, where the central government will decide whether or not the money has been put to right development, something that you, amongst other states like Tamil Nadu, actually protested against. Does this make the road easier, sir, or more difficult for state governments in order to try and come out of the very large crisis that you are all facing, both in terms of the fact that GST collections came down to almost zero, and second, that you urgently need borrowing, but you do not want to have it with these sort of tie-ins in terms of the central government's decree on whether or not it's being put towards the right cause?
Now, regarding the compensation, they can dodge it indefinitely because all states want it, even BJP states want it. You have record Sushil Modi of Bihar saying compensation is a thorniest issue in center-state relations. And therefore, I think there will be some solution to it. There is no other solution than, say, either central government borrowing and giving it to the GST Council, or other empowering the GST Council to borrow. Now they are not empowered to borrow, they can be empowered to borrow. This is the only solution. In fact, if they do it, that's a perfect contra-cyclical measure. Income is going down, that's the time you should spend more, and therefore GST compensation acts as a contra-cyclical support system. I think a solution would come because all states want it. Okay, so something would be sorted out. I think next GST Council will happen. Now, secondly, additional borrowing, they come with the riders, their conditions. Now, I have very carefully gone through the present conditions. Kerala, it won't be difficult to meet those conditions, but this may be the beginning. Now they're putting simple, let's, for example, to have all India ration card. Okay, what's the problem with that? Nobody can object to that. But the way they have put not only simple things, micromanaging, say energy, electricity. There are 3 conditions. Each condition you fulfill, you get 0.05% more additional borrowing. 0.2. What kind of micromanaging is state government finance? So this is the beginning. Tomorrow they say even the normal borrowing, we are going to put certain conditions. So beginning has been made. That's a fear. But that battle we will fight later. Now we are going to borrow. We are going to meet these conditions and take the money because government needs some money.
Yeah.
Not only to give relief to the people, but lead the economy out of the present recession.
Yeah. I'm going to come to the third leg of Kerala's economy. But before that, Dr. Issac, in the last couple of months, the Prime Minister has held so many meetings with state chief ministers, virtually talking about center-state interaction, trying to build more synergy, if you will. What happened at those meetings, sir, if this was the outcome?
The meetings make a show. Okay, that you are interacting with states and so on. But nothing much happens. Look at the situation now. You think there is a national strategy how to address the situation? We have made a mess of it here. See, the lockdown period, the disease multiplied, creating hotspots, but nobody knew it because no testing was being done. And then for the whole Western India, South India, where the hotspots developed, all these migrant workers to East India and Central India and infecting the whole country. And you have now, we are third. I think we are going to overtake Brazil and we are in competition with USA. See, this is it. Now I don't think they have any strategy whatsoever how to deal with the situation. It's not as bad as US. Okay, you cannot have a worse scenario than US, but not bad as bad. No, never. But nevertheless, I think nobody knows really how to handle the present situation. For example, I'll tell you a simple thing. What is the most important requirement today? To expand the health facilities here.
Yeah.
You spend 1 lakh crores on health facilities. You, in the Ayushman Bharat was launched, you said wellness centers everywhere. Now use this opportunity to invest in the primary healthcare centers and let, when India emerges from this, have a health system which will raise the people life much better. And this is the time we can spend. Have a specialized COVID hospital in a district using disaster law to take over good big resort or building, convert into a hospital. Nobody is going to object to it today. So that every district in India come to have a specialized hospital. Now, this is something, if you don't do this, how are you going to fight it? It's not enough to have in Delhi a 10,000 bed hospital, asylum. No.
Yeah.
India is much larger. So there must be a strategy for this. Nothing is forthcoming. You have put aside additional 15,000 crores of rupees for health. 15,000 crores of rupees for health. What a paltry amount to be spent in 3 years. Ha. See, that's what I'm saying. There is no strategy.
I was going to say, Dr. Issac, we do have many luxury resorts. Unfortunately, we spend most of our time moving MPs from one resort to the other. That seems to be the higher concern. But your point is well taken. I want to, draw you back to the situation in Kerala. You mentioned before that there is an influx of a lot of people. As I understand it, there are more than 1 million Malayalis living in the Gulf countries per se. The World Bank estimates that remittances are going to drop close to 20%, or even more than that for South Asian countries. What's your own sense of how much of a dip or cut you're going to see as a state government in terms of remittances?
The long-run impact of COVID in migration is going to be very severe, because all the Gulf countries were wanting to reduce their dependence on migrants, all of them. So now this gives an opportunity. There will be job opportunities emerging in Gulf countries, but at much reduced scale. So many people are coming back, will have to stay put here. But immediate impact in the fall of remittances may not be that severe as World Bank has estimated.
Okay.
Because when people are returning from Gulf, they come back with their entire savings, either in gold or the bank accounts, everything. For the current year, immediately it may not be that debilitating as they say. But that's one time remittance. After that is going to fall.
Oh.
So Kerala will be very seriously affected by migrants who are returning. There is question of rehabilitating them, very poor people. But the great challenge is they come back, many of them, at least half of them, with a lot of savings, some experience and skill, how to integrate them meaningfully into the economy. That is a challenge that you're facing, you see. Many things are being thought about. We are having Dream Kerala Hackathon. For those who return, how do you want to get integrated in Kerala? We will help you. Let's think out together. Not the government has a lot of money to give to you, but we'll plan it together. That's the thing. It's just starting working on that. I think in 3 months, a whole series of action will be taking place.
What is your own sense, though, sir, of what the drop in remittance figure might look like? I mean, if 20% is an overreach by the World Bank, what do you think it might actually level out to?
Remittances would decline. That's the first time it is happening. Absolute decline in remittances since the whole migration to Gulf began. So we are doing two things. One, trying to ensure that Malayalis get job opportunities outside after COVID. Now, Kerala has a brand image now, a good health system, public health system. And therefore, we are having a crash training program, finishing program for nurses of Kerala. Those who want to go abroad, they're given training, not spoken English, Spanish, French, and so on, even Arabic, so that we are ready. See, one thing that is very certain about the post-pandemic world is going to be much greater focus on public health system all over the world. And therefore, you will require more nurses and medical personnel. So we are consciously trying to train people to make use of that opportunity. Our agencies have started on the work that we are doing. And I think we would also try to have good relationship. Many of the GCC countries will try to negotiate, talk, and so on. So that, okay, now there's a setback, but our migration would continue.
Aside from remittances, of course, Dr. Issac, a large part of Kerala's economy came in from the tourism sector. And, that's the space that has been hit extremely hard, whether it's hospitality or the restaurant business. And the sense one gets when one speaks to restaurant owners or hospitality, hotel owners across India is a feeling of being let down. There hasn't been enough that has been addressed either by way of, the package that was announced for MSMEs. There has been no relief on rentals. There is a lockdown, a curfew, which, makes it even more difficult for restaurants to restart businesses. What's your sense of what the best way might be to go ahead and really support this industry, which has been ravaged really by COVID?
Yeah, travel and tourism industry has been worst affected. There's no hope of tourism during this current year.
Yeah.
It's closed. See, once a resort, everything is closed down for such a long period. They see it. Then you will have to invest further to open it. Houseboats and so on. So it's a major crisis. Our 10% of our GSDP comes from tourism and tourism-related activities. We are doing 2-3 things. One, we are trying to give them some kind of support through our financial institutions, talking to the financial institutions. We have had 5 meetings of SLBC since the State Level Bankers Committee since the COVID began. And banks are cooperating because they are now in a terrible mood of risk aversion, all financial institutions. Whatever Union Finance Ministers say, they are all very wary of lending. But, continuous prodding, talking, taking of individual cases. I think we are setting up a special cell to talk to them. And we want to make our financial institutions to take the lead, cooperatives and so on. So that kind of financial support is being provided. Second, very interesting program. We want to go up in IT. That is a major area where we can be competitive. Now, but all the Malayalis are working in Hyderabad, Bangalore, Mumbai, and Chennai, and so on. And companies have certain advantages, agglomeration, by locating themselves in these places. So now we are telling, well, let these Malayalis come back home. They can work near their home. See, tourism in Kerala is spread all over the state. Therefore, resorts are spread all over the state. We'll arrange you workstations in our resorts. Anyway, that's going to be all empty, vacant for the first of the year. So we have started a program of converting, at least temporarily, all these resorts, if they are willing. We will spend the money into workstations, which the companies outside. Anyway, you cannot have centralized functioning now. People are working from home. It will be much cheaper and much more enjoyable option for the staff to work in Kerala in a resort. So this is a scheme called Work Near Home. There are inquiries coming up, and good. I think they will come back. work near home, they will like Kerala and they will stick to Kerala. So we are willing to offer them attractive terms.
Please open up a program for journalists also, Dr. Isaac. We are also we can also work from home, and we can certainly do that looking at a beautiful houseboat. Let me ask you to sort of put your economist hat along with your finance minister hat. And I will preface this by saying that you know the old joke, which is that God created economists to make weather forecasters look good. But you mentioned the finance minister. The Union Commerce Minister has made some comments as well, both in terms of the visibility of green shoots and the second that India seems on track. And I'm quoting him to say that by 2030, we will be the largest consumer market. We are headed to becoming a $10 trillion economy. How are things looking anecdotally first for green shoots? Also, when you speak to other state finance ministers, and what's a realistic sort of approach to take towards our growth over the next few years?
Every crisis provides an opportunity. Now, if you look, the whole uh, evolution of modern economy, you will find it was the Spanish, Portuguese to begin with, then the English, then the continent, then the USA, then post-war Japan, now the Asian tigers, now the emerging economies. See, the world economy has evolved like that. Every major structural crisis also brings in certain breaks. So I think this prolonged crisis starting the 2008-9 and now with getting into COVID thing provides an opportunity for emerging economies to push themselves forward. America is being pushed backward. And so this is an opportunity there, so I won't deny that. But these are opportunities that have to be utilized. It would depend very much upon how we handle this pandemic, how we emerge from this pandemic, very much. But here, shoots, etc., doesn't mean much. If you have an economy which is totally shut down, locked down, and definitely when you relax it, there will be shoots. There will be new development taking place, industry starting, and so on. But question is, how soon are you going to climb back to the normal? So that is the key question. See, take for example, a recent experience we had of demonetization. One event. How many years is this disastrous impact continued to trail? Many things which closed down never opened. Yeah, it is the biggest blow to MSME sector. So you have to understand something terrible is happening, and you have to be much more, say, uh, much more interventionist to see support these small scale units, medium scale units, and so on. Let's take the MSME sector. I just told you the tourism. See, terrible losses they are suffering. A moratorium being given for another 6 months is not going to solve it, you see. At least have the interest paid during this period. Let that not become addition to additional burden when they emerge out of it. So if you look at, say, the support that is being extended in other developed countries, we aspire to be like them. Well, it is very, very weak. And therefore, I think we have to be much more resolute in our intervention and action. That is not forthcoming.
I am conscious of time, and I know there's a bunch of questions piling up for you, Dr. Isaac. But before I, throw open those questions and bring them to you, I'm wondering whether you would like to address the current news around the gold import scam, and you put the government's point of view across as well.
Definitely. Now, I think every day anything between 500 to 700 kgs of gold is smuggled into India. Okay. It's a huge smuggling that is big. Earlier, it was arbitrage between our official exchange rate and the market exchange rate. Now the difference has now narrowed down to almost equal. Therefore, the old Hawala to take advantage of this difference in the exchange value has died out. But recently, in last June, Government of India increased 3 times the import duty on gold. Therefore, it has become advantageous to have smuggled gold coming in. But, and this I want to underline, the major source of smuggling into India is for money laundering. You have huge black money hoarded up in outside India through under invoicing of the exports, kickbacks paid in outside India. How can you bring this money back? Only way is gold. Tell me any other way. So this is the main conduit for black money being laundered in India. And who are doing it? This is a big, big question. Not you and me here. Not the agent and so on, who carrier who brings in some gold and so on. There are huge, big players. But you find so many customs officials capturing gold, 100 kilos and so on and so forth. Have you ever seen anybody behind the scene, the big player who is behind really the smuggling of gold? Who's the beneficiary ever being arrested, ever being taken to task? So this is a fundamental. So you have to have this big picture in your mind. So it happens in Kerala. Diplomatic immunity has been used to smuggling gold. Now Kerala government has become embroiled in it because an ex-employee of the UAE consulate in Kerala, she is very efficient and so on and so forth. And she was hired by PricewaterhouseCoopers through an agency to work in a space park program of Kerala. She was to sell the plots. She is the person who was selected. The government of Kerala didn't select it. But she was involved with this. Very much involved. That's what it would appear there. So now elections are coming nearer and nearer. We are going to have local government elections in another 4 months' time. Then you have got the assembly elections coming up. So Kerala is very fiercely competitive politics going on. It's a left hegemony in Kerala, but if you take, that's to say, you have to be some variant of left. Even the right is not all the right in Kerala. Okay, you have to be a little bit centrist in Kerala. But for various reasons, which involves caste community considerations and the kind of class structure in Kerala, the difference between these two fronts are very, very narrow. No fundamental shift has taken place in 30 years now, or 30 or 40 years. Therefore, small discontent among the people, and people are very demanding in Kerala. Okay, if you are in Kerala, you'll find no COVID, nothing. Everybody is debating about this gold and gold and gold alone. So you find opposition sees an opportunity in this, because government's performance has been so exemplary. It looks like hands down for the government. So now an opportunity is there. Therefore, they're very vociferous. Government has taken the position, well, we will accept any inquiry. Even if Interpol is required, bring in the Interpol, catch for everybody. Whatever help the central state government has to give, we will give. Okay. So the government of India has declared an investigation by NIA. Good, all right. But only condition I will put to India government is don't stop with an official in the embassy or an agent in the airport, but go out to see who sent it and who was to receive it.
Okay, on that note, let me dive straight into the questions, Dr. Isaac. There's one from Matthew Cherian who asks, is there any advice you would give to the central government? And let me tie that in with Shobna's question where she asks, what kind of disaster management gaps do you think have shown up and need to be urgently addressed?
The biggest gap is disasters. Definitely the management will be centralized and hierarchical. But even the longest arms of central government or state government is not going to reach Indian villages. Therefore, action is at the local level. Take the pandemic. Now, who's going to see about quarantining these people that get sick at the local level? Who is going to look for if there is a symptom? Can be only at local level. Now you want to have reverse quarantine. Who's going to look at it? Migrant workers coming, how to fuel feed them. All these actions are taken at local level. I was very happy when the PM said, let's be vocal for the local. See? But what is local without local government? See, our greatest strength, I tell you, is this local government. Though it is half is UDF opposition, half is our, now we are 60, they are 40, it can change. But everybody is involved and is empowered. So that's number one. Two, use this pandemic to build up infrastructure for public health system in India. It is a requirement for that, and it will be a strength of India. So that is the second one. Beyond these two fronts, nothing very much is happening. And third, all right, see people are fed. There is grain. Give the grain to them. Give them employment. MNGRs. What is India? You're spending 1 lakh crore rupees. You gave a tax concession of 1.5 lakh crore rupees. Double the number of days employment. Increase the wages at least in this time. So money reaches the people and support the MSME. I think much more. So I think that is my standard. In whatever little way that we can do, we are trying to do that here. In fact, I tell you, those slightly digressing, I've been just finishing my book, 25 Years of Decentralization in Kerala. See, even I am suddenly struck. What has this local governments done in 25 years? We have reversed the outflow from the public education system. 500,000 students have left private unaided schools and come back into public education system. Health. Only 38% of the population was using public health. Now 48% uses. Kerala has built 2 million houses through the local governments in the last 25 years. Every house has electricity, every house. Every house is latrine. Now we had 35%, we had 25% was our poverty ratio. Now Rangarajan says it's only 12. See, this is what local governments can do. So if you ask me what is the advice, I say, doesn't matter, yeah, if they make some mistakes, some money is misuse, misuse will be much lower than when it is done from the center. Give it to the local governments. Empower the local governments.
There's another question coming from Mathur, and I'm transposing here, but basically he's asking, do you think it's almost an eventuality that countries across the world really, Dr. Isaac, will have to live with this kind of a health crisis every year? I mean, as a state, that's something you've seen, and I think the entire Zika outbreak was almost a precursor of what was to come with COVID. But do you think that looks like a reality, that health crises are going to become larger and larger for countries and state governments to deal with?
Every year, I don't know. But
I hope not.
Yeah, but I think frequency is going to increase. There are so many books that have come out on pandemics. Earlier pandemics used to occur in centuries. So now look our present century, how many unknown viruses are made into our society. There is a kind of ecological rift that is taking place. which is linked with climate change and so on, which is pushing these unknown viruses from the above in the forest or the wild animals, etc., into human society. Therefore, this is a real danger. And therefore, I think we have to give up Trump and his like. There's some real danger to the future of humankind. We have got to think about how to live with nature, not to think of conquering nature. Look at the extreme right response to COVID. One, trivializing it. What? And then you think you can just conquer it with your will. Look at Trump, look at the Brazil, because in UK, any right, far right government in the world today. Now this is a danger to humanity. So this danger is going to increase if we continue in our present path.
You mentioned education, and there's a question that's coming from Sunita Agarwal, Dr. Issac, saying, I would like to raise awareness on the returning daily wage workers' children's school year for 2019-20. Is there a way we can transfer their school credits so they can afford to register again in the local schools? I think so much has been talked about in terms of the migrant labor, but perhaps what has gone completely under the crisis.
Let me tell you, India, you can't do it. You can't do it in an urban situation. There's a big digital divide here. We are talking about a country where large proportion of population do not know alphabet. Okay. But Kerala, we are much more fortunate. We have now started online classes. We want to ensure that nobody is left out. So within 1 week, our local governments and everybody, if you don't have a smart television in your house, okay, 5-10 students in the neighboring reading room. Kerala, every village on an average has 4 or 5 reading rooms. There will be a television, smart television, you can go and see. There will be mentors there and they will help you to learn. So it has shifted, taking place. Now we are rolling out. You need to repay only in 3 years. And that to easy installments through women self-help groups. Anybody can buy a laptop. And for the poor, it's heavily subsidized. So, yeah, it's not the top thing. It's a requirement for a high school student. Okay, all those facilities will be there. And I think lakhs of students will be purchasing it, you see. Because they get free. You start payment on the 3rd installment, you are given the laptop. No security, nothing is required. You are given the laptop. So we are tendering it already. And therefore, and we are doing something else. It's something marvelous. By January or February, I'm sure every household in Kerala will be connected by internet. For all the poor, we are going to give free internet. Okay, so you have children who have laptop, you have internet facilities. Of course, these are not going to replace classrooms. The moment pandemic is gone, their classrooms are going to open. But this access to ordinary people to digital services, government and education services, that's going to be a game changer in Kerala.
Do you fear, sir, though, because there's a question coming in on that, on whether, there will be budget cuts in education. Do you think that will be the decision for state finance ministers to choose between health and education?
I think Kerala will let us spend more. There's no cut.
On which one, sir?
Where we will be cutting. Oh, see, some of the capital works in the budget. See, some of the new schemes which we are thinking in other development sectors. So that we'll be cutting. We have told them, everybody, to prepare priorities. And education, for example, even in education, we may not start, say new building, start construction, new buildings. But in education, we are thinking we'll be spending more because about 10-15% of Malayali students go outside Kerala to study. Now, pandemic means they cannot go out to study. And therefore, we are going to give some 200 new courses in the colleges. And we may permit new unaided, I don't know. Anyway, the courses we have decided to be given. We are going to appoint new teachers. So expenditure on education is really going to increase only. Yeah.
There's another question from Veena Binus. She says, how can we revitalize our agricultural sector? Because some of the other states have done that. They've had bumper agricultural growth this year. And I think genuinely, even at the central level, agriculture is going to bail us out because services certainly isn't. What does Kerala intend to do for agriculture specifically?
I will say some good things about Kerala. Now let me say something very bad about Kerala. We have virtually given up agriculture.
Yeah.
Agriculture has been growing at average rate of 1%, 1.5%. So it's very fit, a long run growth rate. This is because of it's a very complex phenomenon. Basically, the Gulf migration, the construction workers' wages rose. Stories like this. I believe in traditional societies, there's a wage relativity, like parity in government employees. In the society also, your construction workers' wages there, then agriculture wages will be something of this. So once the construction workers' wages went up, all wages began to rise. But there was no increase in the productivity. So increase in the wages led to something very unexpected thing. People began to withdraw from labor-intensive crops. So now you go into crops, long gestation, tree crops, whose future has been damned by the recent trade agreements and so on. But they were very profitable at one time. Therefore, there was not much less labor intensiveness. And they were promoted. They went into marginal lands. Now all plantation sector is in crisis because of that. And now wages are high. Therefore, and people who own the land, they are not big landowners in Kerala or small parcels of land. They all are employed in outside agriculture. And they want to have wage laborers to cultivate land. Not because they are landlords, but they are employed as wage salary workers elsewhere. But when the wages rise and productivity don't, they don't employ them. Therefore, all intercrops have gone. The paddy lands are lying fallow. So this is the situation. And Kerala don't mind. You get Gulf money, and therefore they think you can buy anything you want with that money. So you don't have rice here. We produce only 20% of our rice requirement. Doesn't matter. 80% you buy from outside. Your vegetables you buy from Tamil Nadu. But suddenly pandemic has brought a new situation. Suddenly everybody fears. Suppose food doesn't come. There were times in Kerala before independence where there were famines and so on. So everybody has now memories of that. So government has started a campaign. Let's become self-sufficient in vegetables, eggs, and milk. And let's trees every year 1 crore tree, fruit trees, fill up with Kerala. Anyway, under lockdown conditions, this is something everybody can engage in, cultivation in the homestead land. And therefore, we are embarked upon a major campaign to revitalize the agriculture. I think this will be something good fallout of pandemic. Kerala may go back to cultivation.
One final question from me, Dr. Issac, especially for the alumni who've logged in and are listening to this today from Harvard. And as people might question them, they did indeed work very hard to get there and continue to do that. Many of them are entrepreneurs, they run businesses, they are scholars, they are administrators. And I think, generally people are feeling fatigue. They are fatigued by having gone on and on and on with this unending challenge, it seems. What gives you hope?
Well, see, my great hope is that the crisis has brought many things into the agenda. Local government, once again. I'm a great fan of decentralization. This is something, a project I have always been involved in. I firmly believe the future socialism, it will be a decentralized society where people participate and not take commands, will actually participate in the locality, in the daily life, the destiny into the hands. With that vision, you find once again a discussion coming on. Why is in Kerala? I tell them we have good governments, local governments. So bringing back into the agenda, I find it very exciting. Two, education, healthcare. See, and three, I didn't speak about Kerala's, I think last time we met, we discussed about KIFBI, the investment program here. We have, since all of you are listening, check up KIFBI, Kerala Infrastructure Investment Fund Board. See, Kerala is doing something which is, I think, out of anybody's imagination. We are going to spend 50,000 crores as state government in infrastructure building. That is our anti-recession package, 50,000 crores. How does a state government leverage that kind of money? We have a model of financial institution to which state government pays every year half our motor vehicles tax. So they have an assured future income flow. And these guys are manned by best personnel. They go out in the market and tell them, here is our future income flow. Let us give us money and we are going to build these things. And we are doing it. We have gone for masala bond. Everybody is upset. How can a state government do that? We are now asking Reserve Bank for diaspora bond. So we are in there. But this money is going to be used only for infrastructure. So that Kerala will emerge much with infrastructure. So entrepreneurs, something new, etc., will find it attractive to come to Kerala. Kerala is not only very beautiful, but also a place you can fly in, more airports. You can ride very fast from place to place and so on. Make Kerala an attractive destination.
Wonderful to hear
Look,
that.
really, Mitali, I find this very exciting.
No, it's wonderful to hear that. And thank you for having been so candid about everything that's happening, including the challenges you face. But let me toss back now to Shobna, who steers the ship at the Harvard Club of India. Shobna.
Thank you, Mitali. Thank you, Dr. Issac. It has been such a delight to listen to you and the gamut of issues that we discussed. You give us hope that Kerala will come out of this strong, and our admiration for it will remain in times to come. So very warm thank you to you and to Mitali for anchoring this evening. And thank you so much. And we hope we'll see you again in some time. Thank you so much.
To receive instant updates on all videos from The Wire, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Pay to support independent journalism. Click the link in the description and choose the amount you want to pay.